Isabel Wolf,
Hello.
welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you.
Why are you laughing?
You laughed first.
I wasn't laughing. I was just smiling. I was just happy to be here. It's been a while since you've been on the podcast, and I thought we would do a bit of a catch up with Ed and Iz, catch ups with Ed and Iz, because there's been a lot going on. So we can talk a little bit about what's happening in our own lives, but also what's happening with the business. Also, what's happening with business. So what's been happening in process programming, what's happening here at Coastal. Just give the listeners a bit of an update on life. How's that sound?
Good.
So let me start by asking you, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm doing better now. It's been hard for us to navigate the last 6 months, I think, with everything going on, but also changes in our lifestyle, being pregnant and all of that, and everything that we need to do moving forward. It feels like this year it's almost July. That's madness, and I thought 9 months of pregnancy would go by really slow, but it didn't. And so just on top of everything that we wanted to do this year, because it was an unexpected pregnancy, that's not something that I'm not saying. So it was it wasn't really in our plans, and then so it's handling that on top of everything that we wanted to achieve. It's been a lot to handle, but I've enjoyed every moment. We've done so much which we're about to talk about that has been exciting and fun and very grateful. Yeah.
Okay, 2 questions.
Yeah.
My first question is, rewind to about a year and a half ago when we were towards the end of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And one of our biggest frustrations was that we feel like that we have so much to offer, so much to give, but we couldn't do any of it. And how frustrated we were that we couldn't do the things. Fast forward to now, we're in a position where we are probably feeling a little bit overwhelmed with how many ideas we have pouring out of our ears and how much we want to do and how little time we have. Isn't that quite funny?
It's very funny, but it's also this is what we love, and we've been itching to do it for 3 years. And finally, as soon as we knew it, in January, even before that, we started planning in December, because we opened our doors, September of last year. And we were we're going to go. This next year is about doing everything that we haven't been able to do for the last 2 years.
Making up for lost time.
Exactly. And we knew it was coming, and we've wanted this, and none of it would have been possible if we didn't, number one, envision it, but number two, we didn't want it, and we didn't work hard for it, right? So it's we're so lucky to be doing everything that we've dreamed of doing finally. And it's about work and everything that we're achieving, there's zero complaints at all. It's we love this.
But there are still some complaints. We do love it. I think I'll speak on behalf of myself, but I know I'm speaking on behalf of you as well, because we share, I think, we have a lot of conversations about this, as well as with the rest of our kind of senior coaching or management team, which is the feeling of, I guess it is a feeling of being overwhelmed, maybe anxiety a little bit as well, a feeling definitely at the moment we have so much on and we are just keeping afloat. I don't mean financially, but I mean we are just getting things done and squeezing them in. I think in Japan they call this Kaizen production, which is just in time production, which is what we're doing. We're not really planning that much ahead right now. We're kind of just rolling with the punches, being creative and innovative as we go, and doing a lot of things by feel. But we always bring it round to the fact that when we're in those moments of feeling overwhelmed, and maybe we're just kind of unloading a bit of frustration on what we have on our plate, we always come back around to, but you know what? We choose to do this and we love doing it. Yeah. And that's always my closure when I have those little, I wouldn't even call them meltdowns or breakdowns. When I have those little, those moments of introspection, it's you know what, I don't want to be doing anything else. Yeah. I love it.
When I reflect on that feeling a lot though, we work best in those moments, and that's something we need to do better, but it's because we're not out of the situation that we've been in, so for the last 3 years we've been on this fight mode. It's we've had to adapt, we've had to do things last minute, we've had to innovate, and every day we were living day by day to see if we were going to make it to the next day, and so that fight mode for 3 years, we're not out of it. We're now recovering from that, and that still requires us to continue to fight. And I feel like that's going to be for a little while longer until we hit a system and we hit a smooth road where it's like, okay, now we can relax and we can plan, because we can't put our foot off the pedal right now because we're still not 100%. Do you get what I mean? Like, we're still making up for all of the losses that we've
but
had.
I think my experience of 15 years running this business, like
it's never gonna be.
We never actually have those moments where we're like, oh, no, we got everything set up. We can just chill, take our foot off the gas a little bit, because there is always something
that you
on
want
the
to
horizon.
achieve. Yeah.
There's either, and it's like when I find this is very much myself that does this, but I also know that having hired a team of people like yourself, like everyone else within this team, hard charging people that want to get the best out of every day and make the most out of their time on this planet, it means that the moment you finish a project,
you want something else.
The moment I feel like I have nothing pressing on my plate, I look for something and I create it. And I think people listening might be like, okay, this guy sounds like he has a problem. Like, this guy needs to like do some meditation and like he needs to chill the fuck out type thing. But I do a lot of that already.
Yeah.
I do a lot of that to allow me to do this, which is a conscious choice, right? It's like, I know what I want to give to my work every day. So in order to do that, what do I have to do in my time outside of work?
Chill the fuck out.
yeah. And that enables me to do it.
But I don't think it's the charging forward. I think what's frustrating us is we're trying to charge forward, but we're also putting out loads of fires. And it's like, if we just didn't have to put out as many fires and just solely achieve goals and do the next one, the next one, the next one, we would have more time. We would have more emotional capacity and mental capacity in order to do that. But
do you want to share what some of the fires are?
Yeah. So I think financially for sure is a huge one for the business. Is like, coming out of a pandemic, we had to work really freaking hard to get ourselves out of a financial rut that unfortunately loads of businesses were in, and we were one of the lucky ones to survive. I think personnel, we went through a lot of internal, because we did a restructuring, which you and I have talked about, and we've actually never caught up since we started that. It wasn't smooth sailing. We knew it wasn't going to be smooth sailing. It's actually been a lot of work and it's been very hard, but we know that it's the right thing to do, and we constantly remind ourselves of that. But that caused a lot of personnel, not issues, but just things that we had to change in terms of mindset, and sort of like, we've had to put a lot of time into our team. I was
going to say it required us putting a lot of time into individuals, which was very important for that process, but more time than we thought.
Exactly.
We have to go into.
Yeah, so that maybe putting out fire is not the right word to do it, but it's just allocating time in places where maybe we didn't initially think we would need to do that, right? And so it was personnel, it was financials, it was even just last minute things that weren't working and that we had to change, like whether it's we wanted to increase prices in coastal, like that was a huge thing that required us to actually sit down, put a lot of time and effort into it, and then putting time into members who we had to kind of explain the situation. And it's like, those aren't ideal things that happen, but you have to do it.
I actually want to talk about that.
Yeah.
I think it's if there are other business owners out there, I think we had some important lessons that we should probably share. So context is that we hadn't done a price increase in 4 years. And it's not right to be doing a price increase mid-pandemic. I think everyone could agree with that. But we had we knew that demand was exceeding supply. We had been at a capacity cap within the gym, and we were fast approaching one already. So we knew that demand was there. We also knew that we invested a lot into the business to bring more value to our customers every single day, whether that's coaching, coaches development, the back end systems of how we run the gym and the experience that they get. And then of course, equipment and constant facility upgrades and the process programming growing, which obviously benefits all our affiliates, Coastal being one of them. So it just felt it was the right time to do it. And it's always a hard thing to do, a price increase. I think one thing we should probably agree on is that human nature, we all want more for less. There's no one who wants to get the same but has to give more for it. This is not ingrained in how we operate. And when you can accept that, you also have to accept that when you're going to increase your prices, and not necessarily change anything in the immediate instance, there's probably going to be some kickback, or at least people expressing how they feel and their opinions. So the way that we did it was we had written a letter that went out to all of our members, and that was written, it was signed off by the general manager, which is yourself. And that was my decision to have you do that. And then, you know, we had given a period of, I think, 3 months before the price would actually increase, gave people the opportunity to buy packages, upfront packages, which would basically mean it potentially would be over a year before they had to pay the new prices. And generally speaking, I guess what we expected was that we were going to have loads of emails being like, "Oh my God, you guys totally deserve this price increase." Yeah, I'm more than happy to pay you 10% more for getting the same thing. Obviously, that didn't really happen. We had quite a few people come up to us in person and say, "By the way, totally justified. Happy. I still love this place. Happy to pay the increased prices. Well done."
Yeah.
But not that many people did. I think a lot of people were sat in the silence, and that kind of created a bit of anxiety in us being like, well, if they're not saying anything, like, are they happy? Are they sad? Are they pissed off? Or are they
going to leave
are
like
they
the next
leave?
month?
Yeah, exactly. And then we had some people actually voice their opinion, saying that they wanted justification and clarity on why the prices were increased. But one of the things we did, which in hindsight, I still don't know if it's the right answer, was we listed all the things that we had done. And I guess our reasoning for that was we wanted to justify it or provides in case, let's say someone had just joined and they hadn't been a part of the experience, the coastal experience for the last 3 years. They hadn't seen anything that we've done. And suddenly get hit with a price increase. We wanted to basically provide insight into, you know, why we had decided to do this. And what that ended up doing was that people then went through that list with a fine comb and basically picked us apart and said, you know, you bought a ski erg, but I've never used a ski erg, and therefore I don't think it's fair that I have to pay for more, which I obviously that's not the right way to look at it, but at the same time I totally understand where they're coming from. If you're going to put those reasons out, people want to see that that's directly impacting them and why they have to increase their prices. So in hindsight, this is the beautiful thing about reticular activation system, right? When you do one thing, you're thinking about one thing, and one thing's at the forefront of your mind, you start to see it everywhere. So what we started to see was all these other companies who were also increasing their prices. And it was interesting, like, okay, well, how are these guys communicating it with their people? And most people just like,
our prices are increasing. This is the date.
In 1 month's time. Like, here's a heads up. I'm like, oh my God, that's all they did?
Yeah.
I definitely think that not listing all those reasons is appropriate. I do think that actually scheduling time, especially with your longer serving members, people who've been there for a long time, scheduling that time away, knowing that you should be investing in your long serving members, just investing some time to explain the reasons why we've done it, maybe even get an opinion on it, or just make them feel loved and cared for. I think that's something we should have forecasted. I think the letter should have come from me. And in fact, I think I would have actually done like a video, you know, actually put my face on it to make it a little bit more heartfelt, to make it feel less like it was just a transaction and that people weren't cared for, because that's very not characteristic of coastal fitness and the process programming. What else would I have done? Yeah, I think, was there anything else that popped up?
I think what was hardest about it is just that you and I take our jobs very personally. And so when
you take your job much more personally than I do. I do as well.
You did get affected pretty personally with some of the conversations and stuff. And it's because it's not that we tie our identity to it, but it's because we give so much to it. And I think it was just an emotional shock. We didn't expect, like you said, we thought everyone would be like, this is amazing. We support you guys. It's been so hard. We want you to do well. And when that didn't happen, we were kind of like, we felt like, oh no, did we do something wrong? You know? And then that was the hard part, which is why I'm like, I said that this was a fire that we were putting out, and like, because we didn't expect that toll that it was going to take on us. Yes, there are definitely things we could have, and we probably should think about in the future, but I also completely think that it's a normal part of running a business.
And no one really enjoys a price increase. The company doesn't enjoy it. The people receiving a price increase don't enjoy it. I think, you know, one thing that does affect me still, you know, and I think it's not that my skin has gotten tougher with the years, but I'm just better at removing emotion from, you know, the way that one might communicate with me. Removing the emotional and thinking more about the rational, putting myself in the shoes of the individual. And I'm able to do that much quicker now. The old me would have been very triggered and my emotions probably would have, shot up very, very quickly. I would have responded with something probably that I shouldn't have responded with, or I would have carried that emotion with me for a really, really long time. That doesn't mean I don't still get triggered. It just means that I notice the trigger now. When someone said something, maybe I think it's mean or harsh or worded in a very aggressive manner that feels like it's accusational or personal. And I just have to take a breath and it's like, okay, put myself in their shoes. Where are they coming from? And honestly, 99.9% of the time, like they're coming from a place of good. They don't mean to be malicious. It's just when we just all communicate differently, I guess. And the thing that I'm always aware of is, or what the thing I think about when we receive some emails from members that are maybe worded in a more negative tone, not necessarily just members, just I guess anyone in this world, is that I always just want to say, like, I'm still a human. I know I'm representing a business and an organization, which is like this tangible four walls of a building that has services, but we're still human beings. And I think human beings deserve to be spoken to respectfully and kindly. And it's not about making one another feel bad or good or right or wrong or justified or unjustified. It's just seek to understand. And that is what I feel. That's how I feel about it. And the way that I pay that forward is that I just don't communicate to other people that way. So if ever I have, I want to voice a concern about an experience or to another business, I will always do it, speaking to the person. I will always seek to understand first, like why something has been done, and do it. And then once I understand why a decision has been made, maybe then that's my opportunity to share my opinion and seek to make it, to find a solution.
So that was, and again, that wasn't something we'd planned. It was something like, oh, well, we think this needs to happen. Let's do it in true Isabel and Ed fashion. So it was like, it's not like we have a year plan. It's like, oh, these are the things going to happen. It's like, nope, we need to do this. And it's a lot more work than just let's increase our prices. It's the communication. It's all the back end. It's all the membership emails, and it's everything that follows after that, right? So we had that. We had staff leave. We had staff join, which again was unexpected and unforeseen circumstances. We had group class canceled. We changed schedule. We changed roster of our, because one of the feedback was that they wanted to see more coaches. So it's like changing the entire coaching roster. And on top of that were the things that were planned, which is the things that fired us up, which was we ran 3 athlete camps this year. We've traveled. We've onboarded 2 new affiliates, like all in the span of such a short amount of time. We've launched a new Instagram page for our athlete. We had the open, the quarterfinals, the semifinals, which is all the things that we love about this job. Those were the planned things. And then it's the unplanned things that then shakes you up, being like, we didn't allocate enough time in our day to do all of these things. And I think that's what I mean by like, we're just constantly on the go. And if we were only on the go for the things we planned, then that would be great. But it's never going to be that case, I guess. There's always going to be fires that you're putting out.
You just took you've traveled a couple of times now, a few times. You went to Philippines twice. Went for a wedding. We had the athlete camp, of course. Went to Bangkok recently for a little. How are you feeling with all the travel, like traveling being a part of your life again? Yeah,
I think I used to travel a lot when I lived in Barcelona, and obviously with COVID, I didn't. And it's been really nice. It's been refreshing, and I think it makes you appreciate home and what you have a lot more. It's also a good reset. It's like when you take days off in the same city or the same town, you're not actually taking any time off because you're stuck in the same routine, you're in the same environment. I think going away and seeing people I hadn't seen in a long time. So I went to my best friend's wedding. We went to Cebu, and I had loads of friends who I used to do CrossFit with there. I went to Manila, and I saw old high school university friends there as well. And then when I went to Bangkok, I hung out with Babs and just spent some time alone. And it's just like being in new places, you realize more and more to appreciate what you have and where you are and why you've chosen this place as home. But I'm so thankful that we're able to do it and that we have like the financial means to do it, but also the freedom of work to be able to do those kinds of things. I know you have loads of trips planned as well, and you've done a lot of traveling in the last 6 months, which it's weird. Like, I think one thing that has sat with me, because I thought it was just me, was you also feeling guilty about traveling. Because I've felt that, even if I've only gone away for like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, which is technically a weekend, and the Friday's a public holiday, I'd be like...
You know what? One telltale thing that you said that made me so aware that you're guilty about traveling, because I do it all the time,
is saying that you're grateful for what you have.
Number one, that is like, overemphasizing how grateful you are for what you have. But the number two is that when I asked you, oh, how long are you going for? When you said to Bangkok, you're like, oh, I'm just going till next Friday. Like, I'll be back here on Friday. And I'm like, okay. And straight away, I'm like, you try and justify because you're like, oh, I'm actually not taking that many days off. I still do it. It's still ridiculous that I do that. But yeah.
No, that's one thing, is that there's still that guilt, of like, well, I'm taking time off. But because we're not even taking time off. We're still doing all of our online stuff, but it feels weird not being here, because I feel like we've all been nowhere but here in these four walls for the last 3 years, right? But it's such an amazing thing that we get to travel, and we finally get to meet all the people we've connected with online like that. And that was our dream when we started the process programming, it was like connecting with so many people around the world that we never would have met. And we finally met them. And it was honestly like we knew them. It wasn't it wasn't anything like meeting someone for the first time. It's like, oh, you're an old friend. And
I really felt that in the Cebu athlete camp where we had 45. We had sold that camp in 6 days. Sold out that camp in 6 days.
That was crazy.
We had no idea. And our affiliate Subterro, who've been with us pretty much about a year now. The first time we've ever run an athlete camp at an affiliate, and didn't really know how it was going to go down. One advantage we knew straight away was like, oh, these guys, they have a vested interest in actually making this camp successful. Whereas when we're running camps in gyms that we're not affiliated with, they didn't really care. It's like they're getting their fee for the hour. It's like, you do all your work. Like, we'll see when you get here type thing. And so just a shout out to AC and the Subterro guys over there. Like, you guys really, really made that trip just so smooth sailing for us. I mean, yes, you worked really hard behind the scenes as well. We still got our jobs to do in all the preparation, but the little things like sorting out the food, sorting out sponsors, sorting out the shirts, pickup,
getting us
transport,
places, feeding us,
accommodation, food. Like, we were just looked after so well. And I did feel like going into that camp, there was so many people that, we've got quite a big following of people on the process programming in the Philippines. And of course we have that affiliate, which is a thriving affiliate that has a really big membership. So we're kind of seeing these people on Instagram every day who are tagging us, and we're kind of, or we're following them on our premium subscription. And it was really nice to kind of walk in the room for the first time, be like, I know you. And I kind of knew everything, almost like kind of knew what they do on the weekends. And it was like, we've been friends for a really long time. And also just getting to connect with our affiliates. That's something we've now done. We've done with Indonesia. Almost all of our affiliates. We went to, we spent 10 days in Indonesia, Macau, visiting our 3 affiliates there. Went to Macau 2 consecutive weekends with Mobox, running a gymnastics seminar, running a weightlifting seminar, actually watching them do business. That's so cool. And also you just learn so much. Like, in a day of just shadowing 2 classes at first, I was like, I've seen more in this. I learned more in this last few hours than I have in the last 5 months about the way that this business is going down. And then being able to hang out and work with the Subterro coaches and management team. What I will say is that the affiliate program, this was the original dream, right? Was that we onboard affiliates who essentially we are creating coastal fitnesses around the world under the process programming banner. And then, what we realized in the affiliate program is just how much we do here that we expect our affiliates to do. And when you're not actually in these affiliates helping to implement and change and educate, it's really hard. Like, it's really hard to teach someone how to completely change up their fundamentals process. Okay, things like pricing and packages and memberships and email templates, that's a little bit easier. But there's a lot of stuff that's like physical skill sets that you need to teach people. When you're just doing it online, it's quite a challenge. But I have been very, very, very pleasantly surprised with all the affiliates that we visited as to the standard that they are holding themselves to. And I'm just thinking like, wow, this could really, a coastal fitness client could walk into this gym right now and probably not see too many differences, and you know, be experiencing a service that is what they would expect. And that was like, I just was very proud to see that.
No, I think, like I've said, like the affiliate program is probably, out of all of our branches, the one thing that I'm most proud of, because I feel like we create the most impact there, because you're starting from the top of an organization, working all the way down, and everybody that they impact is a byproduct of us being able to impact the top, right? And I feel like it was very stagnant for a while because we weren't able to make these connections and meet people. But now it's like something that's shooting through, and I can just see like the process affiliates all across Asia, and hopefully we expand beyond that. And we're just leveling it up, businesses, fitness businesses in general, but as well as how they coach and how they take care of individuals amongst themselves, right? And I think that's just such a huge impact, because we're also, when we do our affiliation, we're trying to change the way the organization is structured, how they take care of their staff, actually making careers for fitness professionals, marketing, you know, business systems. Like, it's more than just, here's our name, take it, and that'll be good enough for you to get more clients, because that's not what we're about at all. And I feel like we're really creating the most impact through our affiliation branch.
Yeah. So we should mention our two newest affiliates.
Yeah.
We have
All Out.
We have All Out in Manila. So it's our first affiliate in Manila, Philippines.
Yeah.
They have just successfully onboarded and are now live.
Yeah.
We have CrossFit Ethos also in Manila. They have a pretty rock star team of people who've been in the CrossFit space for quite a while, coaches, business owners. So they are going to be starting from scratch. So this is our second affiliate that started from like the ground bottom, no physical premises yet, basically allowing us to be a part of building their business from the bottom up, which is really cool because it's like we don't, you know, we have that ability to implement change right from the start. And, you know, when you're an existing affiliate and you join the process, of course, like change is always hard for everyone, but having to, you know, re-educate your staff and your members and your community that we're now going to be moving to this, and this is going to be the new system. Like that whole process takes a lot of time, a lot of education, and there's no one way to do it. The way that we've helped our affiliates have been very different from all of our other affiliates. So this is always exciting. You know, Mobox was the first one, and we helped them, you know, build it from scratch, and we're doing that again now. And I think I've certainly learned, I think we both learned a lot through the Mobox launching, that we're now taking on board with Ethos and being like, okay, these are the mistakes we made last time. This is what worked. This is what didn't. Yeah, let's do this.
Yeah, we're also leveling up our systems and adding more value to that. Like now we have other people who help on that team, and then we have videos and we have homework, and we just provide way more than we did initially. And I can just foresee this being something that will just take off, and that's what I'm really, really excited about for one of the projects that's upcoming this year that we're doing. So like we mentioned, we had our camps that were really amazing. We had
let's talk about that though, because I want to talk about the process programming, the affiliate, the athlete side. So right now within the process, we have kind of like, it's a two-headed dragon right now. We have the affiliate model, so the affiliate business, and we have our online subscribers. Online subscribers are people who are signing up to our Live, Perform, Compete, Elite, or our Build programs. And soon we're going to have
our coaching
course.
TBC.
It's coming. A little update on that, because I am actually a little bit embarrassed about how many times I said we're going to launch that. We still haven't done it. But all the content's done. Our PDFs are now coming through. So basically the whole idea is that we wanted people to have, we were saving paper, so we're not going to send like a physical booklet, but you're going to have kind of like a walk along through the whole course with imagery and chance to make notes, and it looks sick. And I can't wait to share that. But for now, those are our two avenues. The athlete online subscriber side of things is something that's I'm really, really fired up about at the moment. And I think the thing that capped it all off was the course, 3 athlete camps. And that Philippines camp was just awesome. You know, just how it sold out so quickly, and we had a wait list and we had to turn people away, and just the vibes of the weekend and people really being proud to be a part of the process. I think that's what makes me the most proud. Obviously in our team as well, you know, we've got a team that executes those camps so well now and we have a great time doing it. But I think for me then going to the semi-finals and being back in that arena for a long time, I didn't make it last year because the pandemic made it very hard to leave Hong Kong. We didn't have them the years before that because of the pandemic. So it's really been like almost 4 years since I was at a CrossFit like sanctioned event, whether it's being a coach or an athlete, and just being in that space again, being, you know, surrounded by like-minded people. So loads of coaches, loads of athletes, loads of fans who all just love the same thing. I was just like, fuck this. These are my people, you know?
This is where I want to be.
This is where I want to be. And I'm gutted. I'm like, part of me is gutted I haven't been there, but it's like, okay, well, I just want to make sure that I'm a part of these moving forward in the future. And it really just affirmed how much I love working with people in this space. You know, whether your goal is just RX across the open, which is our Perform program. It's just to maybe take part in the CrossFit program, the CrossFit Open at all, which is our Live program, or, you know, to qualify to the quarterfinals, which is, you know, 8,000 people around the world, maybe more than that, 80,000, 8,000, no, more than that, 300,000, 30,000 people.
How did you go from 8
Pretty crazy.
to
Yeah,
30?
that was, I don't know. Got that very wrong. And of course, you know, like working with the elite, that's an audience that I really, really enjoy working with, just because I just love working with athletes.
We had our biggest showing this year for semifinals.
Yeah, we had I think we were all surprised. We're not surprised in the sense that we don't back ourselves to be getting people to, honestly, the CrossFit Games. Like I really believe that we have the caliber of coaches and the skill sets to be getting people to CrossFit Games every year. I mean, Ant proved to everyone he's 100% good enough to be there. And he is a product of the process. But we had, you know, another 2 individuals represent us in Africa. We had 2 teams, you know, coaching a team again, first time for me in a really long time. And being able to be a part of 2 teams' journeys, that's something I really enjoyed. Having another individual on the team as well. It was cool to have so many people wearing the process shirt in Asia, at the Far East Throwdown. And just, I think, you know, I've always said this on a podcast every time I've traveled, especially around Asia, is just, you know, people know about us. And when we're in this bubble, you forget about that. Because not everyone's that vocal on Instagram. Not everyone feels comfortable enough to send someone a message to say, hey, I really love your work. You know, keep it going, or it's impacted me in this way. What
I've learned is most people don't give you praise. More people will give you criticism. We've learned that in this gym. And that's also the same everywhere in everything.
But you know, we are hardwired to look for the negative. Like if you're a forest dweller, you're going to remember the fruit that almost killed you, not the fruit that tasted really well, because that's what we need for survival. Right. I don't know why I always remembered that.
So like you said, I think it's good to be able, like, you went straight from the camp to the semifinals, you know, and it's like those are the kinds of things that we're looking forward to doing now, is just being able to go out and see all of our hard work being known, being shown, and having it then because, like, yes, it was a buttload of effort to do all those camps that we don't probably see return on investment as quickly as we want to, or it's so much work to do all of these programs and stuff. Like, you individually program for people that are all the semifinals, and we don't get any return on that. But what we do get return is when we go out there and we see it and we feel it, and we just know that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. And like you always say, if you continue to work hard and you do good things, it will come back, right? So it's like, we've said this in the beginning of the year that, yeah, maybe it's been a rocky start in work, in our personal lives, and all those kind of things, but it's like, we just feel it, that something's gonna come soon, you know? And like, I can't put a finger or a tangible thing on it, but I do feel it.
And it's not like, when I always say that, it's not like I'm expecting this one huge thing to happen and then it's like our problems are solved. It's like, but when you look back on the last year, there is always these continually these good things that are just moving the needle in the right direction.
Like, keep you moving forward.
Like, there's little boosts of motivation. You've got to celebrate those wins when they happen. And those wins sometimes feel like every day. Like, it's a new subscriber or a new influx of subscribers, or a new affiliate is emailing who wants to be a part of the process, or someone's asking about sponsoring the podcast, or, you know, there's these little things that you've got to celebrate those wins, because as we know, as human beings who are hardwired to focus on the negatives, when you do get the negative, it becomes a much bigger deal than all those positives, right? So if you're not celebrating the wins of the little things, you know that when something bad happens in life or in business, that's going to occupy a lot of your time. And if you lose appreciation and gratitude for the wins, it's going to feel like life is just filled with all the negatives. And I think that's I've definitely been in that place before. So now it's like we've got to make sure we remind each other when we're doing good work, or when we've got to remind each other to celebrate. So, you know, on our groups, it's like whenever we get a new subscriber on the process,
it's a big
or a comment, like we'll take a screenshot and send it around to the whole team, be like, come on, we're fucking crushing it. And I think that's important, you know?
Yeah. But it's also like sit downs like this, like, we're together every day, but we don't actually look back at what we've done. You and I are kind of just, like you said, we have blinkers on, moving forward. Every day is what can we do next? What more can we do? What more can we do? And I feel like when we actually sit down to do these podcasts and these catch-ups, we're like, holy shit, we've done so much. It's only June, and look at everything that we've already done. And we're just worried about the next 4 things that we need to do right now, right? So,
and we actually did that with our team on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Every Tuesday we do professional development. And I think there was just this residing feeling that it was like, okay, maybe today let's not do professional development, right? We're always learning, we're always pushing each other forward. I could feel that. I think we all felt within the room heavy. It was like, let's just have a catch up. So we sat the whole coaching team and yourself, you snuck yourself in there, and so did Al 2.0, Mr. Media Man, and we just sat around the table and was like, right, what's on the forefront of everyone's minds, like what's been happening in your lives. And it's not that we don't have those conversations, but those conversations, you know, might happen at a post-workout 20 minutes day stroll, or it's like on the workout floor, but they're not real quality. It's not quality time where you've got an hour just to sit and talk and listen. And it was really nice. Actually, I went home that night and reflected and was like, that was one of the highlights of my day that day.
Yeah. I do think that is really important. It's checking in with yourself. Like, I think something that Liam was very open about that I think you and I resonate with a lot is we love our work so much, but sometimes we forget that there's more to life than just our work, and we can't forget to prioritize that. It's like we work 7 days a week because we choose to, because we greatly enjoy it. We have so much on our mind, and doing that allows us extra time throughout the other days to do the other stuff that we enjoy. That's why we can have 20 minutes a day, and that's why we can train and all that kind of stuff, right? But like, just what I took away from that was that it is an effort to do the things you enjoy. Does that make sense? So it's like you actually have to schedule and plan and make sure that you're having those little moments for yourself, even if it's sitting and reflecting on all the things that you've done and where your mindset is now and what you need to do to make tomorrow just ideal as today was, because otherwise you just easily get caught up in the next day passes and it's exactly the same as the last, right?
I liken it to, because not everyone will be listening to this being like, I don't really love my job that much.
Yeah.
Like it's not hard. It's not hard for me to take a day off work.
Yeah.
But you can replace work with anything that you love doing and you could get lost in and do every single day.
Yeah.
So I always think about it with training. It's like, I love training. It's genuinely one of the best, if not the best hour of my every single day. And I wish I could just do it every single day, because I know how good it makes me feel and I love the process of improving. But I know that I have to take rest days if I want to be able to keep on doing this for a really long time. And sometimes you forget that and you start skipping out on rest days and you feel fine in the first week. And the second week, you're still feeling great. And you're like, I'm being so productive. I'm crushing my training. Gains are improving faster than they ever were. And then what happens in week 3 is that because you haven't taken those rest days, you haven't given yourself time to unwind and relax and recover and regenerate, then you start to run into some issues and you start to feel tired, fatigued, burnt out, unmotivated. And that's exactly the principle that I have to apply to my work. It's like I can easily sit on a Sunday in front of my computer for hours and do really productive work. And I would genuinely love it. I wouldn't be resentful of it. I wouldn't complain about it, because it's like I can just get lost in it. But I know the cost on Monday if I do that is going to be that I can't have the same Monday I had last week. And so it's kind of like you've got to plan You got to plan like that rest. It's like a deload. Like we don't really ever want to get to a point where we're having to take forced deloads. You're forced to rest because you haven't managed your time well. And it's the same with this. Like I know I have to remind myself, so like even Sunday just gone. I had a couple of hours and had nothing planned. And straight away my mind was like, oh, well, you got a pretty long to-do list with work. Why don't you just get stuck into it now? Like what else are you going to do? It's raining outside. Like you can't go outside. And I was like,
can't do that.
Nah, you know what? I'm just not going to do it as much as I want to. I actually had to lock my office door. Close my office door in my house. Be like, don't even look at the computer. And I'm happy I did it.
I think that's something I'm struggling with now because you and I have a meeting on Friday about my maternity leave. And that's one thing that I don't know how I'm going to do it, you know? And you'll obviously find out on Friday, but I have like no intention of completely not doing anything.
You've been pushing off this meeting
so long.
You're like, Ed, it's going to be fine. I'm like, Izzy, you're having a child. Like you're not going to come out of the hospital and like jump on a Zoom call with an affiliate to like onboard them. I'm like, you know, maternity leave's a thing for a reason. Like you need to take that time off.
But like that's just, it's hard to wrap your head around it because I've never been through it. So, and like as much as people tell you what it's going to be like and what it's going to feel like, you don't know, you know? And I think, that's just currently what I'm struggling with is how much, and it's not even the guilt of not working or not being here. It's just like FOMO, and it's like not being a part of it and not being in it. And like, that's what I'm going to miss the most. Right. And so it's like trying to now navigate this new life journey on top of everything that we want to achieve and everything that I wanted to do this year. Because like I said, it was an unexpected pregnancy. Firstly, it was hard in the beginning because I was at the best physical condition that I've ever been in as an athlete. I was so fired up for this season. And right before the CrossFit Open, we found out I was pregnant. We were like, this is amazing, but I can't do the Open. And I was gutted. I'm not going to lie about that. And then the first trimester was really hard. And then now it's like, okay, what is it going to look like? Because I feel like I'm at the peak of my career as well. And like, we're just about to take off. So it's like, what is that? By the way,
just going to remind you, we've said that about 5 times now.
It's fine.
We're at a crossroads right now. We're about to take off.
We will. Okay. I still believe it.
What I'm saying is that there's going to be another crossroads.
Yeah, for sure. But then it's like, well, how do I now balance that? And like, I know you've felt those, and that's why you've pushed off also like, oh, it'll be 3 years. Oh, it'll be 2 years. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's hard. It's a hard thing to be able to go into a new chapter of life, but not let go of who you are now. Even though I know you always have to grow, evolve, and change, it's like, but I'm not done with this chapter. You know what I mean? I feel that way about it.
But life is telling you it's time to be done with that chapter, and you've got to enter a new season of life, like you always say. And every season's going to demand a new you.
Different you,
Yeah. I wanted to just say, like, you know, a lot of the things we've been talking about is like the guilt around not working or the guilt around holidays. And I do think, you know, because a lot of people experience this, especially business owners, you know, because I speak to a lot of business owners because we probably share very similar feelings, emotions, and stories. A big thing that contributes to allowing one to not feel guilt, of course, there is something internally within you and within me that causes us to feel guilt. Probably a lot of that is our attachment to our work and feeling like our work defines our self-worth, and that's not good. I think we both worked on trying to have a healthy relationship. I certainly have. It's not cured, but it's 100 times better than it ever used to be. But another big thing that contributes to allowing individuals to not feel that guilt is the culture of the organization and the culture of the team. And if you can foster a community of people who want one another to take time off and to take time for themselves, and they encourage them and they support them to do that. It's very different versus the culture that is shaming people or, you know, making comments about how much work did you do, leaving early, what did you do this weekend, like, oh, but I have to work. And I will admit that still creeps into the culture that we have here. I certainly do everything I can to not be partaking in that, and will always, as much as possible, speak to people when I do see that creeping in. But I definitely know that contributes to my guilt. You know, when I hear those comments in the office, and it could be from someone who's only been in the company for 2 months and they didn't mean it. It's not ill-intentioned. It's just maybe something that from their last work that has now, they've now carried into this new workplace because they were in a toxic work culture. And I hear them say that and I feel it straight away. I'm like, okay, that makes me feel really guilty about, leaving. Yeah, exactly. It triggers me. So I think, in organizations, if you are someone who feels this or suffers from it, have a look at the people around you and try to pick up on whether that's language that's prevalent within your team. And if you are the leader and you don't want that to be a part of your organization, number one, you need to lead by example and not be shaming people for taking time off. And number two, you need to have conversations with the people who are doing it and make sure there is clarity on what the culture you want to have is.
Yeah, I think that's something we've worked very hard on here, especially since we've moved away from you work for your hour based, because when you do that, then you can see the amount of people that are working because they have to in order to get paid, right? And now that we have a lot more management responsibilities and jobs that you can do that don't require you to be in the premises, it was a shift because now these people are able to do their jobs on the beach or at home where it's less noisy and people aren't screaming and singing all the whole day, right? And so it's like that was something we worked really hard on, is like, well, we can't necessarily, like, as long as they're getting the work done, there's no rule as to where they get it done. Yeah. But it's like we also believe that we do want to spend time together and we do honor that as well. It's like, oh, we train together. It's not a requirement, but we know that brings us closer together and that's a bond for us. And like we have these conversations that we do in the gym because we're not just colleagues, but we're friends and we're family, you know what I mean? And so that's our time that we spend together. So we do value time outside of solely work, but with the full trust and knowing that you are going to get your work done regardless of where you are, right?
Yeah. And I also think that we recruit and hire based on people who want to be a part of the team.
Yeah.
We're not hiring people whose dream is to work
solo
on a remote island by themselves, but to be a part of the team remotely. Yeah. We have people who see the value in being a part of a team and creating quality connections with the people they work with. So because of that, because that's the caliber of people that we're looking for, we generally don't have many people who come into this organization and just kind of disappear and work on a computer.
Yeah.
But what we are saying is that if you need that, if that's where you get your best work done, then we want you to do that.
Yeah. Well, what's coming up next for you, Ed?
Oh, for me, well, I mean, right now it's Wednesday. Is it Wednesday? It's Wednesday, the 21st of June.
My birthday.
Happy birthday. Oh, yeah. This is not, by the way, this is not the first time I said happy birthday to Izzy.
He forgot. He totally forgot.
No, I did not.
I'm just kidding.
I would have been your first message this
I'm
morning.
Kidding.
So I was just for listeners, it's Izzy's birthday. So even though by the time you listen to this, it will be 3 weeks post birthday, better late than never. Well, I'm in a few days' time, I'm flying to Colombia.
Did you need to say it like that?
The reason I'm flying to Colombia, I haven't voiced this on social media, but I think by the time this comes out, I will have, is I'm going to be getting stem cells in my knee. So this has been, honestly, I would say the last 5-6 years of my life has been trying to research and understand if there's anything that I can do to get more out of my knee. The knee that I'm talking about is my right knee that's had a lot of operations, had a really nasty infection in 2009, which really is the thing that crippled it. So basically what I have is a degenerative knee. So I have like a 90-year-old knee, basically, is what all the doctors say. Lots of osteophytes, so like bone growth, very, very little cartilage, no ACL, no MCL, a PCL, which apparently is like clinging on for dear life right now. It's there, but it's like, it's not got much longer. And apparently if my PCL goes, I literally don't have any ligaments in my knee holding it together. So I'm under a bit of time pressure right now. And so basically, I've done a lot of research, spoken to tons of experts from all around the world, trying to see what I can do. And there is nothing for osteoarthritis, especially like, stage 3 osteoarthritis. But what most of the world do is by the time they reach about the age of 60, they get a knee replacement, where they basically cut off the caps of either your thigh bone or your shin bone, give you a new surface, and it makes it like really nice. You get nice gliding on top of one another, but I'm just too young for that. So every person I've seen has said like, you are a candidate for it. But if you have one now, you need another one, and no one really has 2 knee replacements in a lifetime. Obviously, surgical intervention and technology is improving so rapidly right now. So basically the last 6 years of my life has been sitting, waiting for technology to improve. And because I've been waiting, I've been like, okay, well, I have no option right now other than to do everything I can within my power to get as much life out of my knee. And I think I've done a really, really good job of that. And I'm honestly so grateful for what I can do with my knee. I know there's people with knees nowhere near as bad as mine who can't do half of what I can do. And really, there isn't a whole lot missing from my life that I can't do that I wish I could. I wish I could still play, some form of rugby. I wish I could go out and play a football game without thinking my knee might snap in half. I would love to run more. I would love to squat a little bit deeper. Believe it or not, I actually want that. I would love my knee just to feel a little bit nicer when it's in the bottom of a squat. So there's lots of things I would love to have. And basically, I'm at a point now where, I came across a company called BioXcellerator, who are, one of the leaders in the US. They're a US-based company who operate out of Colombia, who are doing some stem cell treatment. These are stem cells that are taken from an umbilical cord and injected into, a third party, being myself. Stem cells, a lot of the research is around like regeneration. So it's regenerating tissue. So it can basically grow things that aren't there or are still there, but there isn't much left of them. So that's kind of what I'm hoping to get out of this. Obviously, surgical intervention, stem cells, nothing is ever guaranteed. Yeah. I mean, look at my knee. My knee, this is a result of what should have been a very standard ACL procedure, which happens thousands of times every single day around the world, and it went horribly wrong. So yeah, that's where I'm off to. I'm off to Colombia for 7 days. Yeah. 3 of those days I've spent traveling. Yeah. It's not the easiest trip to get there. It was a big financial investment. But you know what? This is like one of those things which is like kind of now or never. There's not much cartilage left in my knee, and if the cartilage is gone, then you can't regrow something that's not there. So I am under a bit of time pressure. It's kind of like at the right point in the season where, if I can bounce back, I can still do the Open. This will be my 11th straight CrossFit Open. Yeah. So yeah, I'm a little bit nervous, but also very excited. Actually, I really appreciate you calling me out the other day when you asked, how are you feeling? And I was probably a bit more negative than I normally am, which was like, I am really nervous about it actually. I don't know. The thing I'm thinking about more is actually just the traveling, but that's because I haven't done, I said this to Cami, my partner, the other day, I haven't done a flight over 4 hours in over 4 years. Yep. Like I haven't flown to Europe, haven't flown to any of these, and I've got a 25-hour flight in economy coming up on Saturday through a few countries. So that's one thing I'm nervous about. But you basically reminded me and said, you need to reframe your shit. And you get positive and you're right, because it's like if I have a negative connotation around it, that's going to be manifesting itself in my body. Maybe that's why I have a stomach bug right now. I don't know. You are, yeah, maybe it's subconsciously like I am thinking about it more, and my body's caught a bit of a bug right now. So yeah, that's what's happening in my life.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for you. I think taking the steps that you need to do, just doing we always say that, like, do all you can to do it, and then whatever happens after that, at least you can say you've done everything within your control, and then it's just let the world play out its part, right? And then after that, you have
a holiday.
You do have a holiday.
Yeah. So I have we have Mr. Ali Reese, long-serving Process and Coastal member, is getting married to Katie. That's a Coastal Process wedding, by the way.
It is.
We should
ask
some,
them to brand
some
it.
Cut of some sort, yeah. Or maybe
our banner should be at the back of the wedding photos.
Surely, like the Process engraved on the inside of the ring. Not for everyone to see, but just like they know. So they know.
So they're indebted to us forever.
I'm actually gonna message him after this and suggest the idea. So going to the wedding, that's going to be in Scotland, and then we're going to be going to France with my partner for a couple of weeks before that. I'm super excited about that. Yeah. Like a European summer is actually one of my favorite things. And again, just being that side of the world, haven't been that side of the world for over 4 years. So yeah, I'm pretty stoked. I'm very, very excited. Well, what about you, Isabel? You got some big life things coming up.
Well, I think the biggest thing is that I'm having a baby.
That's the one I was referring to.
Yeah, it's been a crazy adventure through it all. Very unexpected. I think what I don't know if there's just a lack of education around it, or I've just never seeked education around it. So I'm kind of unsure of where that is. I think there hasn't been a lot of conversations about how not life, it's very life changing, but like mentally how it takes a lot of toll on you, on your identity, on giving up pieces of yourself that no one's ready to give up or sacrifice, and all those kinds of things. But it's been magical. It hasn't always been beautiful. It is painful.
What have been some of the biggest struggles?
Yeah, mentally, I think has been my biggest struggle. Like I said in the beginning, the first trimester was really tough because you're not telling anybody during that time, just because the first 12 weeks you have a high chance of a miscarriage, right? And so keeping something that big to yourself and then making big sacrifices, like all of a sudden my training went from high intensity peaking for the open to now I was doing tempo back squats and single leg stuff, right? And it was just like, people were like, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, I'm just deloading, preparing, you know what I mean? So it's like, then you feel that weirdness of like not telling the truth and stuff like that. And then you're tired all the time. Like you're not able to perform. Like I'm a high performer, and everything that I do, I want to work all the time. I want to train. I want to be just doing something constantly. And all of a sudden it was like, nope, you have zero energy to do any of that. And then you just had like, I had a huge identity crisis, being like, is this my life? Like, am I going to be like a sack of shit for the rest of my, you know what I mean? And it was just hard. And then finally that wave of the second trimester comes out, but then your body starts changing and then everything hurts. It's like my hips was hurting. I was getting calf cramps all the time. I had really bad insomnia for loads of time. And then you're like, well, now at first I was giving up my ability to do things, and now I'm giving up my body. And like I had huge body image issues for a long time of my life, and it's like the first little bit you just look like you've had too much cheeseburgers, and it was like oh god, I don't really like the way that I look right now, you know. And like that was hard as well. And I think now what's the difficult part of it is, again, what is my life going to look like with a baby, right? And I think I always have to remind myself that it is what you decide that it's going to be. And I'm very, very fortunate that I have a job that is so accommodating to like we said, work schedule, but also being able to bring my child here and literally have every single person in the team being like, we'll take her, you know, like bring her in here, we'll look after her, we'll do whatever if you have meetings and stuff like that. And so it's like, I feel less, I can't imagine what people who have 9 to 5 feel like, and they literally can't be with their child for that amount of time. But yeah, physically, I am feeling, I've been able to train. I was just thinking that today is probably the first time, and I'm almost 7 months in, where I haven't progressed the load, like, because I've actually been unable to. Whereas for the last 7 months, I've still been making gains. I've still been making progress. Like I still have the muscles in places that I want, and I'm sure that I'll be able to come back. But today was actually the first time that I've been like, oh shit, I can't go any heavier. Oh, I can't do any more. So I'm very lucky in that sense. And I've been enjoying navigating that with you because I have the full intention of coming back to compete after. I feel like that's a new, fun, exciting challenge for both of us to undergo, being like, okay, well, postpartum, what can we do? What does that feel like? What does that look like? And I'm excited for that part of it. But it's also been nice feeling like I'm not alone throughout this. Like I know you've been heavily involved with Camille as well, just because like it's a season of life that we're in, like Petra and Liam, like having those conversations. Even though Ant thinks my belly is really gross and weird, he still is interested in those kinds of conversations. So it's like, it's been nice to feel like it's been our pregnancy. Does that make sense? Like it's been a coastal team's pregnancy that we're all invested and interested in. It's made it feel a lot less lonely than what potentially could be for someone who doesn't have such a big tribe like I do.
Yeah, and I think I've certainly loved being let in to be a part of it. I remember when we first started training around the pregnancy, I think you felt a lot of guilt. Yeah. Thinking that Ed's not going to want to train me.
Yeah.
Like, I was a competitive athlete, and we were getting really fired up. That's what he likes, and he doesn't want to train a pregnant woman. And I said to you, I was like, I love this challenge. Like that's what I just love about training in general. It's just the whole idea of challenge. Like you're navigating something, and you're trying to build a roadmap, find a solution to something, and it's nice when the person you're helping is someone you can see every single day, and we can work through it together. And yeah, I think you've navigated really well. Training's remained a part of your week. Every week. You've had definitely some rough weeks for sure, where we've had to self-regulate a lot more and change things up. But I think the training program and training around pregnancy it's a fun challenge. And it really takes, if you are a coach who works with someone who is pre or postpartum, like communication is so important. Like you need to have super honest, open communication, and it needs to be a team effort. I mean, I believe that with any client, to be honest, but even more so with this, because one thing you were talking about was like there's this lack of education or information out there. I think especially around like the fitness population, because in the fitness population of women who are getting pregnant, it can be so varied. I mean, even not in the fitness population, like the experience that people have can be so different. You look at someone like a Tia Toomey, who just was doing the CrossFit Open a month before, quarterfinals a month before popping, and was like training with high intensity. She's doing handstand push-ups, she's doing kip and pull-ups, like all these things that are big no-nos in the textbooks, and she's doing it. She's thriving. She's now 1 week, 2 weeks post-birth, and she's back. She's back training.
And
like she's back lifting weights.
And
baby's healthy. She's healthy. She's feeling good. And it's like you have someone like that just defies all the rules. And like we just talked about before the podcast, like what does that do for women who are seeing that? For lots of people, it's going to be inspirational. Something that I've certainly taken out of it is like, okay, wow, you know what? The human body can do way more than we give it credit to. I think that all the time in so many walks of life, different people, different clients, myself, the human body can do something a lot more than we think. And I think for a lot of people, the stigma around what they shouldn't be doing, then seeing someone like Tia, I think changes that perception a little bit to be like, okay, actually maybe it's not the end of the world if my hips go above my head and therefore blood goes to my head and could be potentially harmful for the baby, right? That was something that was, one of the first things you read about in second, third trimester stuff. So that's been really, really cool for me. But again, it's just taking the pressure off a bit, and it's more like, okay, Izzy, like, how do you feel?
Yeah.
Like, what do you feel comfortable with? Like you've been running pretty much every week up until pretty much this week. 2 weeks ago, which, for a lot of people, like incontinence doesn't feel comfortable. So running is one of the things that kind of gets taken out of the program. But you've actually been feeling good the whole time. That's been something your body's been craving. Yeah. So it's like, I'm not going to tell you to not do something that your body wants to do. And sometimes you just got to try, like anything. It's like, okay, go for a run. That doesn't mean a marathon, but like, go for a couple of K run. How did it feel? Okay, I felt all right. And then let's see how you feel tomorrow. You bounce back and I felt great tomorrow. Okay, well, then let's keep on doing it. And as soon as it doesn't feel comfortable, then we start to make those changes. Or do you think from a programming standpoint, we've been trying to, it's good. It's also good hearing that it's like, I couldn't progress it today. It's like, I already know next week we have a new program anyway. Like we're changing things up. So we are not really, especially second, third trimester, when, mood and energy is fluctuating so massively, and your body's just changing, right? Like joints are getting looser, end ranges are getting bigger. You've now got this lump in front of your body, which means like things like Olympic lifting can't really do anymore. So with all those things, it's like you just got to navigate it kind of day by day. And with the training is, rather than creating linear progressions over a 4 or 5 week cycle, we've kind of been doing 2 weeks and then we change things up. 2 weeks, change things up. So early part of the pregnancy, we could run like 4 or 5 week cycles. The deeper you get into pregnancy, that starts to move to 3 week cycles. Now we're kind of like 2 week cycles. It's probably going to get to a point where it's just going to be like,
take it week by week.
Week by week, just move. Like, doesn't really matter what we do. Let's get some form of hinging pattern, some form of squatting pattern, push, pull, and like, we're going to be good to go. We just need to survive this last couple of months and get out the other end.
Yeah, pop the baby out and then we'll reevaluate. No, it's been fun. I think, like I said, it's been a collective effort for it in terms of even getting my work done, getting training done, navigating what this next stage of life looks like for all of us. Because like I said, it's going to be all of our baby. You know what I mean? Like, it's a huge, and that's what I love about this company and our job, is that one person's win or one person's challenge, everybody takes it on with them. And I know that it's just going to be something that elevates us. I don't know what blessing she'll be for all of us, but I know that it's going to change something within us, and it's going to be it's going to be a fun new thing to be able to tackle along with all of you guys. So yeah, she comes out in September, which I think is actually an ideal time for us. It's a slower time in the season, you know what I mean? And then when I'm fully recovered back in January, we're back again to like doing all the things that we want to do, which will be fun.
Well, we actually said that if you're going to have a baby, you need to have that thing out before the open, because that's when we're busy.
That's when we're the busiest.
We didn't really, by the way, guys.
No.
Well, it's been good catching up.
It has.
We should do this stuff more often. Actually, one of our subscribers and frequent listeners of the podcast was like, you should do the catch-ups more. Like when we used to do the catch-ups with Ed and Paddy, love you, Paddy. I think people really valued that. I think giving people a bit of an update and insight into what's happening in our lives and within this business, and not just interviewing people all the time, I think is important.
Yeah.
All right, Izzy. Well, you have yourself a lovely day. Thanks for being a guest.
Bye.